The roadmap is moving target, this violations argument, her plan text, and then onto the flow of her last speech. First, I would point out the most obvious problem I see in this round, which are several moving targets. She offers several new definitions at the beginning of her rebuttal, as well as a new plan at the very end of her rebuttal. This strategy is unfair to me because instead of having my 5 minutes to offer competing definitions and especially to attack her plan text, I'm limited to a 4-minute rebuttal to do this and make whatever sense I can out of what has become an extremely muddled round. Instead of using my rebuttal to clarify the round and give you voters, I am forced to use the majority of it to attack a brand new plan that was not offered until the last speech. Molly encourages you to dismiss her violations due to the fact that she is a new debater. I definitely remember what it was like to navigate the debate world as a brand new debater, and all the technical arguments and jargon can be very confusing. That's why I tried to be as holistic and clear as possible when using some of these terms in my constructive speech. However, by encouraging you to dismiss these violations, my opponent is at the same time encouraging you to punish me for bringing them up by ignoring them on your flow. If you buy this, then I would have wasted nearly 3 minutes of my constructive spending time on theory arguments that I felt were relative and useful. This would be extremely uneducational for both debaters in the round because we would both learn that making arguments about structure and abuse scenarios in the right situation is bad and something to be penalized for, as well as learning that we can use our novice status as a trump card to have the judge ignore violations and vagueness. Quickly on her argument that her failure to offer a criterion should not weigh into the round. I insist on the importance of having a criterion in round, otherwise the judge is stuck with random competing facts and opinions but has no lens through which to view them. I appreciate the definitions for round clarity and can see these definitions. However, I do see several problems with the plan text offered at the very end of her rebuttal. She says that the government should instill a policy that only a certain number of animals be allowed for use in testing, leading to a push for research in the alternative technologies, which will eventually lead to a ban. First of all, this plan is still very vague. She does not give me an actor, an enforcer, a cost, a time frame, or really any additional information that would give me more ground. Additionally, this plan is completely non-inherent. I actually told you in my constructive how this plan has already happened. It is already a law that researchers can only use animals in their testing when no other alternative is viable. This is the replacement portion of the 3 R's. This in itself is already forcing research into alternative technologies. I will also make a topicality argument here. My opponent advocates instilling a policy where only a certain number of animals are used, but in this world she is not banning animal testing per her own definition. Banning means to prohibit according to her, and if she advocates the government only allowing it on a certain number of animals, it still exists and is only being lessened but not prohibited. It does not actually ban per her definition. Finally, the clarified arguments in her rebuttal. She said that we do not practice testing on humans for the sake of animals. However, I think it is important to note that we actually do extend the results of studies on humans to animals. For example, diabetes is treated the same way in all mammals, and veterinarians use many of the same techniques to treat diabetes in pets that were initially developed by physicians for humans. The point here is that our research on both humans and other kinds of animals extend across fields to benefit a plethora of species, and as alternative testing continues to develop, these lines become more blurred every day. She also says that animal testing is not always accurate. However, this bites her argument directly before that statement, which was that we have yet to surpass the accuracy of animal testing with alternatives. Here she concedes that animal testing is still the most accurate form of testing there is, even though it's not perfect. Under my criterion of utilitarianism, which is my main voter for the round, it is clear that continuing animal testing in the status quo is best right now because it benefits the majority of the human species and its generations to come with the most accurate testing mechanisms available, while only sacrificing the lives of a few. My criterion went entirely unrefuted in my opponent's last speech. Do not allow her to come back in the last rebuttal with a brand new criterion. The criterion of util stands, and I win under this framework because I advocate the greatest good for the greatest number.